What's going on, guys? I am back with another hat format replay review video for you guys. If you want me to potentially react to some of your hat format replays, you can find all the information on how you can send me your replays in the video description, so definitely go and do that. And without further ado, let's get into this match. So here we have me playing H.A.T, so Card Car Artifact Trap Tricks, and my opponent Ponovic, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, on Wind Up Artifact. This was a pretty cool match I had the other day, so let's get straight into it. So here we do the rock, paper, scissors. It was a little bit of a back and forth, but I end up winning that, so I will be able to start here. Opening hands, I have Beagletech, Card D, Sanctum, Compulse, Mind Control, and they have Madolche, Soul Charge, Wind Up Shark, Beagletech, and Wind Up Rabbit. I draw for turn and I find a copy of Breakthrough Skill, and here, just go to main phase and I set the Beagletech, Sanctum, Compulse, and Breakthrough and go for Card D. Use the effect, they say it's fine, and I draw a Dark Hole and another Card D. Pass it over to them. They find a copy of Double Cyclone, which is really good for them here because they have the Beagletech and the Madolche. And they start by summoning Wind Up Rabbit. Really good start. If anything, it's just a really annoying card to deal with in most situations. They go to battle phase and attack. And here, I take some damage. They set the Beagletech, the Madolche, and the Double Cyclone and pass it over. For turn, I see a copy of Solemn Warning, which, let's see, I just set it and go for Card D again. Here on the summon, they go for Double Cyclone to pop the new set, which is the Solemn Warning, and they go for their Madolche. They do that over going for Beagletech. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe they're afraid of just all the back row I have, or they want to wait until later on when they feel they need it more. Here they use the effect, pop the Card D, and I go Breakthrough Skill on the Madolche. And it's negated, so I can use the Card D, and I draw a Madolche and a copy of DD Crow. And over to them, they find a copy of Wind Up Rat. They just go straight to battle phase and try to push for some damage. And they get it in. And it's back to me, where I find a copy of Ignition, which is really good because I did have that Beagletech, don't forget that, and because I have the Madolche here as well, so pretty solid there, finally finding a way to pop these, though I do have the Sanctum, so, it's good, but I'm only playing the one copy of Beagletech in this, so I can't just use this to pop the artifacts that I already have. But here I go Dark Hole. They use the Wind Up Rabbit, which, if you guys don't know, it has a quick effect that you can target a wind up monster you control and banish it until your next standby phase, and it can only be used once while face up. And they use that, and I chain the Breakthrough Skill to negate it, so it will be destroyed by this Dark Hole. I go and set the Madolche and set the Ignition and pass it over to them. They find a copy of Ice Hand, which is really scary. Not that I have any monsters or anything here, but I didn't really know that they were on the hands at this point. They go for Wind Up Rat, and this has the effect that basically you target a wind up in your graveyard, you can special summon it and then switch this card to defense. But here, they summon it, and I do on summon Ignition to pop the Beagletech, set a Madolche, Beagletech will then trigger to special summon it. I'll use the effect to then pop my Madolche. Madolche will summon back and pop the rat. Next, they'll go for a Soul Charge play. They go and target all three. And I'll DD Crow the, the Wind Up Rabbit here. Simply because, like I said before, it is a very annoying card to deal with. And if I had hit, like, the Madolche, it's not really doing anything here because I don't see that they have a 5 on board, so it's not like they can make an Xyz. And with Rat, if I just got rid of that, I still have to deal with the Rabbit, so I feel like Rabbit was the good hit here. And so they summon the other two, and then they take the damage or the pay the life, and then on the summon, because a wind up was summoned, they go for Shark, and here I go for Sanctum to summon a copy of Scythe, and then Scythe will make so they can't use their extra deck for the turn. And I draw for turn. I find a copy of Soul Charge, so really good follow-up in case this is a real back row, which it could have been a handful of things that would have been a little bit problematic here. I overlay into Durendal, because this was just a good play, because since the Moral Attack was kind of dead here, and Compulse is chainable, if they go and use a monster effect or a spell or trap, I can just use that to basically change it to popping one of these back rows, so really trying to play it safe there. They allow it. Here I go Mind Control to take the Moral Attack, so I'll be able to make another rank 5, and here I was a little worried that maybe this was like, I don't know what I even thought this could have been that would have hurt this board, but here I just end up going to battle phase to run over stuff. And then in main phase 2, I go for a copy of Pleiades, and they draw for turn, it's bottomless, and at this point they're just scooping it because there's nothing they can really do here, honestly. And let's see, we go into a game 2. They'll be starting off this game, and let's see these opening hands. I have Sanctum, Call the Haunted, Flying Sea, Artifact Sanctum, and Pot of Duality. They have Sanctum, Max C, Full House, Call the Haunted, and another Max C. So we both open like kind of strange hands here. I had only sided in one Flying Sea because I forget what I was trying to take out, but I only needed one more spot here. So I figured Flying Sea was probably the best card to put in, especially since I'm going second already, and they're playing a deck that does want to Exceed Summon as well. So here they'll draw for turn, and they get a copy of Warning. They set Sanctum, Full House, Call the Haunted, and Warning, and pass it to me. I find a copy of Mind Control. I go Duality. And here I put back the Torrential and Double Cyclone. Usually you might want to keep a Double Cyclone or something just to try to clear out the back row, but I was more so afraid that these were artifacts and stuff, and I didn't really want to have to deal with that, though, you know, if I did set it, then I would be able to potentially bait them into thinking I have artifacts and then pop something and maybe like then trigger a Sanctum or something, but I figured it really wasn't worth taking that risk, so here I will be taking the card D, trying to draw into some engine, or at least attempt that. And let's see. Here I set Sanctum, Call the Haunted, the other Sanctum, and summon Car, which they Warning, unfortunately. But it does bait that out, which is good, because that means if they try to extend too much, I will have the Flying Sea, and they can't, like, Warning that. And they find, yeah, the Soul Charge for turn, so they just pass it to me. I have Max C, and I just pass it back. They get a copy of Breakthrough Skill, and they set the Breakthrough, pass it back to me. I find the Double Cyclone, set it. They find a copy of Wind Up Rabbit, so really good for them here since, you know, again, this is just an annoying, grindy card, and they summon it, go to battle phase, and here I activate one of the Sanctums, which they chain their Sanctum. I chain Max C, so I'll get a draw. They chain Full House, which if you don't know what this card does, target 2 other face-up spell or trap cards and 3 set spell or trap cards on the field and destroy them. So what they're doing is they're trying to pop the Sanctum and the other Sanctum, and here they should have targeted the set cards, but we kind of played it a little bad and fast here. So we didn't look at what the targeting is, which does kind of come up here, because it probably would have mattered in this situation. But after that, they then drop the Max C, so they'll get a draw off of my Sanctum. And then I chain the Double Cyclone to pop my copy of Sanctum, and oh, they were targeting, and so I'm using Sanctum to pop my Sanctum and one of their sets. and I hit a Call the Haunted. They're full house triggers, and yeah, here they just target the other sets. I probably should have waited just in case they were to hit that, and then I'd be able to keep one of these, but I don't think in this situation that really would have come up either, because I didn't have anything engraved to really Call the Haunted, and I already used Sanctum, so even then, it may have come up if they didn't hit the other Sanctum, but I think in this situation it might be good that they actually end up hitting it. And then, yeah, so basically just clearing all the back row here. They summon their Moral Tech. I get Scythe, and then we both will draw. He finds another copy of Full House. I get a Mermail, so pretty good there. And then the Scythe triggers, the Moral Tech triggers, and then because he popped the Sanctum will trigger popping the Moral Tech. So the only thing left here is Wind Up Rabbit, and we sort of messed up here because one thing that shouldn't be able to happen is because he activated his Sanctum has the other part of the effect where, let me find it here. You can only activate one Sanctum per turn. You cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this card. So realistically, he shouldn't have been able to attack with that, but from the crazy chain link that happened, we didn't really catch it there. And the 1400 damage here won't really matter at the end of this. I'll explain a little more when we actually get to that. But here I do take the damage because, again, I wasn't really paying attention, and they set the other Full House. Here I find card D, and I have the option of going Mermail or card D here. And I go Mermail just so that I can attempt to attack over this. And I get Trap Trick Trapple Nightmare. I take Trap Trick Trapple Nightmare despite still having access to Bottomless in deck, simply because since I know they're on artifacts, if they try to use an artifact effect, that when it gets special summoned, I can just negate and destroy it. I go to attack over the rabbit, they use the effect, and I just swing in direct for 16, set the TTHN, set a Bluff Mind Control, and pass turn. They find Ice Hand, but first their rabbit comes back in standby. They set Ice Hand. I draw a Moral Tag, unfortunately. Here I go Mind Control, take it, and here's where I find out they're playing Ice Hand, and I'm like, oh great. I was not expecting that in the slightest. They drop Max C, I have to think, and I decide to overlay this for a copy of Emerald. At this point, the back row hasn't done anything, so I felt kind of safe doing it, and even then, like, most of the time this will be able to beat over this if need be, so I felt safe going for Emerald, trying to get some sort of engine or something going. They draw a Wind Up Magician. I use the effect, and I will shuffle some stuff back and then get a draw. I find a copy of Duality, which unfortunately won't be able to be used this turn, but having Card and Duality means that'll be a pretty strong turn if I survive. I attack, they use the effect again, and I get in for some damage. Set the Bluff Moral Attack and pass. They find a copy of Double Cyclone, which isn't really that useful here. Here the rabbit comes back. They make a Soul Charge play for, I believe, just one there, and they use the Double Cyclone, unfortunately hitting the Trap Trick Trapple Nightmare. They accidentally click Full House. They do that a couple times. Kind of irrelevant here, though, for me. And then they normal summon the Magician, use Rabbit to tag itself out, which will trigger the Magician. This has the effect that if the effect of a wind-up monster is activated, except itself, you can special summon a level 4 lower wind-up monster from your deck. So they go for Wind-Up Shark, and on that summon, I think, and I go for Flying Sea, which makes so they aren't able to Xyz summon. They attempt to go to battle phase. I think they forgot they soul charged, and so I have to remind them, and they pass it back to me. I draw another Mermail, and I go Duality. I look at what was there. I take the Crow because I'm going to normal summon the Mermail in most cases and get the Bottomless, so I didn't want to add Bottomless or another Mermail there. And Yep, here I go for Mermail, search the bottomless, and I attack over Magician and Shark. They only have 300 life left. I set the bottomless. So what's cool here is because they're so low on life, they can't just switch the Flying Sea to attack and crash because it'll kill them. So realistically, I'm in a pretty good spot here. And if they have some sort of like other card to bring back, for example, if they find a copy of Rat or something, I have the Crow to stop that. Here they top deck Sanctum, they get their Rabbit back, they go to battle phase, attack over the Emerald, and set the Sanctum. Back to me, they get Mermail, or I get Mermail, my bad. I normal summon it here, and this is probably the biggest mistake I had the whole game. At this point, this hasn't been activated, so I'm thinking this is an artifact. This, I'm thinking there's no way they found anything relevant off the top. I was looking at their stuff and I was like, they have a breakthrough engrave. You know, I've seen Full House. I wasn't thinking about any other back row they could have, especially seeing they allowed this to go through. So I'm thinking it's not torrential or something. And I think, and I decide, I want to just try to end this game here. So I go for Black Ship, and I'm like, this could just end the game here. I could, use the effect of Black Ship, which does, you can detach a material from this card, target a face-up monster your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to this card's attack, send it to the graveyard, and if you do, inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. And so I'm thinking, okay, if I try to use this, he's just going to tag this out. I don't want to get rid of this in case he does have a way to stop this, and I can just get rid of this in most cases. And I'm thinking, okay, this will work here, but at the same time I was like, maybe I should play it slow and go for like a 101 that can be protected in case it's a breakthrough. But at the same time I was like, if I summon this at a 101 and go to attack the moral attack and he breakthroughs, I lose this and I just lose pretty quickly after because I don't have a lot of defense. So that's why I went and took the risk of this. And unfortunately here, he does have Sanctum. So it was a real card, which he can then pop that. I chain the bottomless to get rid of it. And he finds a copy of Factory, uses Factory, uses the Rabbit. Factory will then trigger to get a search, which he'll find another Rabbit. There he misclicked again. He summons the Rabbit, attacks. I go draw for a Torrential for turn. I set the Torrential, pass it. Well, I go card, use the effect, draw 2. I find a Duality and a Mermail. So unfortunately nothing there. He gets a top deck of Shark, standby phase. The wind-up Rabbit has the effect that it returns in the standby phase, so it's not a summon, so I can't trigger the Torrential. And I know the life is like messed up here for some reason, but if I believe it, I had 28. And so right here is 28 plus 21. And that's why I said that the damage from the Rabbit when he attacked, even though he shouldn't have been able to, didn't really matter because I wasn't winning this regardless. And unfortunately, he doesn't play into Torrential and just attacks. So we go into a game 3. And here I will luckily be able to start. So opening hands, Scythe, Ignition, Breakthrough, Dionea, Dark Hole. And he has Moral Attack, Warning, Magician, Double Cyclone, and another Moral Attack, which we both didn't open too crazy of a hand. Like, seeing Scythe isn't great. Seeing Dionea obviously isn't great, especially since I side one out. And then, like, Ignition's okay, Breakthrough's okay, Dark Hole's all right. And from him, Double Cyclone's good because I have a little bit of back row, but opening double Moral Attack isn't great either. But here I draw for turn and I find a Sanctum, and I'm like, okay, now it's a decent enough hand because I'll be able to, grab a Beagle Tech if need be out of deck and be able to potentially make a big push. So here I set Breakthrough, Ignition, Sanctum, and Scythe, and pass. He draws a copy of Sanctum, so okay, now we're both in a very big artifact game. And here off to the side, you'll even see how I said I messed up with Khorne, because I just kept thinking, like, man, I really played that bad. I was in such a good position there. But anyways, they go and set the Magician, which has pretty good defense, 1800. They set the Moral Tack. I think they set everything, actually. Yep. And I had to think here for a minute. And in end phase, I go Ignition. I was like, I'll just try to make a push as much as I can. I hit their double Cyclone, set a Moral Tack, activate Sanctum, summon Beagle Tack, and I pop the Scythe and the Moral Tack, so those will get destroyed, and I'll be able to summon both. Here, I top deck a copy of Mermail, and I'm like, okay, I'm in a good position, because I can do this, search a trap, and this is still good here. And in my mind, now that I saw the hands, I'm thinking, okay, this has to be like a fire or ice hand. And so that I was scared of more than this back row. And so what I do is I overlay these for a copy of Pleiades, because I feel into a lot of back row in this situation. This is the best card to go for, which gets met with warning. Then here I go battle phase into this. Now, the reason I'm doing this is I'm hoping if this is an ice hand, they will pop this. They'll summon a fire hand. I'll crack. Yeah. And then when I dark hole, they'll have no monster for the fire hand to get rid of it. What ends up happening is they go Sanctum, go for Beagle Tack. They use Beagle Tack and pop both of their back row, so Moral Tack and Moral Tack. Both get summoned and the effect to pop the Scythe. And I'll use the Breakthrough here to negate one of them. Even though there was nothing else for this to pop, I'm doing that because I'm still thinking this is an ice hand, and main phase 2, I'm going to dark hole them. So I'm like, okay, if this is an ice hand, there's no spell or trap on field for them to pop to then float. If it's a fire hand, I have no monster, so it won't float. And in a simplified game state, I feel like I'm in a very good position because I can still normal the Mermail, use the effect, go for a Trap Tricks Trap Hole Nightmare again in case they special summon, find something like a Soul Charge or whatever. I set it and pass. They find Rabbit. They summon it. Back to me, I find DD Crow, which again is a great card in this simplified game state. I go to attack. They use the effect. I chain the Breakthrough Engrave, so it's negated and gets destroyed. Onto them, they find Ignition, set it. I draw a card, and I decide to go for the card just because, again, he has one card, he'll be on 2 cards, and so that means I'll be able to get a lot of advantage by this point. So by the next turn, I should be in such a commanding position that I'll just win. So I go for card, find a Compulse and a Max C, so definitely worth it. I have double Hand Trap, Dianea if this leaves the field. I have the Trap Tricks Trap Hole Nightmare, and they're on basically top deck mode. They find a copy of Sanctum, though, so, like, Sanctum plus Ignition is good, but looking at this, they already have gone through double Moral Tack and Beagle Tack. So when I'm seeing this, I'm thinking, okay, they might have one more Moral Tack, and then I don't know if they play more Beagle Tack, I don't know if they play Scythe. And so they set the Sanctum back to me. I find a copy of Ignition. So again, I just feel like I'm in a good position here. I go to battle phase, they go Ignition to pop the Trap Tricks Trap Hole Nightmare, which I say is okay. And it's really weird they did that. I guess I get it, because had they gone Sanctum into it and used the effect, they were going to lose it. But they set the Moral Tack here, and so in my mind, I'm like, okay, maybe they were playing more artifacts. I don't know that this is Sanctum, though, at this point. But I'm thinking maybe this is like another Ignition to pop this, or who knows what. And so I do swing in for 16, and then I set Compulse, set Ignition, pass. They find the copy of Wind Up Rat, which isn't great here, but they do have Rabbit in Graveyard, so if anything, they can go for a play there. They normal it, attempt to use the effect, but I say, hey, hold up a second, like I'm thinking. And I go, what's the target? they go Magician. So there I go for DD Crow. Back to me, I find double Cyclone, go to battle phase and clear the rat. And I set the copy of double Cyclone. After that, they find another copy of rat. And here on summon, I'll just compulse it. Back to me, Dionea, and I normal this. And so combined, this should be 3,300, so just enough for game. And, you know, I'm guessing based on this, I go to battle phase and attack. And that's kind of where I figure out that they don't have more artifacts. Because I had to rewatch, you know, right now, seeing this and seeing that they had, you know, 2 moral attack here, the 3rd there, and this being Sanctum. It means that they obviously didn't have more artifacts in deck. And even if they did, you know, I almost played into popping their back row with these, which wouldn't have been good because, I mean, I knew what this was, but I didn't know what this was. So there was a point where I almost considered popping this. Luckily, I didn't. And so I was able to walk with this match despite the little bit of misplays and stuff in the second game. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like on this video. Comment any questions or videos you want to see in the future. Share this video with your friends. Subscribe to the channel, as I said before. And don't forget, if you want me to react to your hat format replays, go check the video description on how you can send me your replays. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video.